Hey guys, so this is my video on building a whiskey table using scrap pallets. Right off the bat, my woodworking skills and knowledge is at like 0%. Everything in this video is learned from watching YouTube videos and Googling. It's a Sunday, it's raining, it's snowing outside. There's cold wind, so it's days like this that I sit down and I get onto YouTube and go down a rabbit hole and started watching these videos of these guys building these amazing things out of scrap wood. And yeah, I wanted to see if someone like me with zero knowledge could replicate something like this. And ended up going on this amazing journey. The video, I was expecting maybe 10, maybe 15 minute video time build, and I'm currently over an hour and a half. So right now I'm breaking the video up into sections and I'll post a little bit every week, make a series. And yeah, if you know woodwork, you're going to be really confused with the words that come out of my mouth because I don't know the terminologies. But yeah, I started this quest. It turned into a whole lot of little mini quests, and I had some fun. So I hope you enjoy. This is my scrap pallet whiskey table build.
So I'm binge watching YouTube one night, and this video pops up by channel Jesper Makes, and he's making this insane coffee table out of pallet blocks. I cut up and burn pallets every day because our winter is like minus 30 degrees Celsius and pallet blocks burn the longest. We have these things lying all over the yard, so I thought, let me grab a couple and give this a shot. So I brought some into the workshop and went to town on them. They come apart pretty easily, and some of them have pretty nasty nails in, but you just give it a couple of smacks and it'll come apart. Yeah, we have a special guest appearance. One of the hundreds of stray dogs in the area. I give them some warm food whenever I can, and the brave ones, I've put a mat down. They can come lie in front of the fire, get out of the snow for a little bit and get some warmth. I love how soft this guy is. The other dogs won't even let you get close. But back to work dismantling. So some fresh wood in the fire, and start pulling more pallet blocks, and this is my result. So as I mentioned, they've got some pretty nasty nails in, and it's time to pull them out. I watched a video where the guy said use some wood clamps and clamp it onto an upright beam and use it as leverage, but it snaps the head off these things. And so I started to look for another way, and I found if you stick the block underneath the pallet, even a small hammer, it pulls that nail out so easily. This was my first attempt, and it was a success. Nail without a head, bend it round and clamp it, and then use the claw hammer to pull onto the clamp. It came out pretty easily. And so here I watched a video, and what I wanted to do here is cut all the blocks to relatively the same size, which I think later will save me on planing it, running it through a thicknesser. So this was my first time not using a pallet block as a piece of firewood, and so I wanted to see the result for myself. And when I cut it, I was quite impressed with the grain and so many different types of wood on the pallet blocks. So I grabbed, I think, 3 of them and gave them a bit of a polish to see roughly what the end result would be. I cannot believe it went from rough wood to that beautiful grain. Here I chose 3 slightly different looking woods, and the end results, I'm completely stunned. So I did a couple more, drew on the table the dimensions I want of my table, and started to lay my blocks down. I know this is going to be a long haul, but I got probably a quarter of the way today, and I'm pretty happy with the results so far. So let's see where it goes from here. It's a few days later, and I've managed to get enough pallet blocks to complete the table size. Also, I've completed the layout. I kept a bunch of the nails that I pulled. I'd like to try and incorporate these somehow into the project later. Also, I pulled a bunch of these massive nails out of some of the blocks. These guys actually ended up bending my cheap little crowbar straight. But I love the rustic look, and I definitely will try and incorporate these into the project later. And with the layout complete, it's time for gluing, and I run into another problem. My clamps are too small. My table is 800 by 600, and my clamps are like barely fitting on 3 blocks. So it looks like I am going to have to glue 3 of these at a time, and see where it goes. And onto the gluing table, and I get cracking with my first part of the glue up. I've taken 3 blocks off the table, and what I'm trying to be careful with when I'm gluing is keeping the shape. The table's like a big jigsaw puzzle, and if I glue them wrong and I lose the shape, the next piece is definitely not going to fit. And with my first part of the glue up, the clamp is still too small. And so it's off for a brainstorming session. And what I found is if you give these guys just a little twerk, you can squeeze a few more millimeters in. Perfect. And on to the next 3 in a little bit. This glue up, you can see how careful I have to be. Those millimeters sticking out there are the difference of a piece fitting or not fitting. So I'm trying to be as careful as possible on this glue up. and with another piece done, I'll start to move on to the next piece. And what I'm going to have to try and achieve is find a way of joining all these small pieces together to complete the full length and width of the table. And on to my last glue up for the day before I head home. Take a handful of panado and a hot pillow and try and nurse this cold I've got out of my system, and hopefully carry on again tomorrow. So after a good night's sleep, I still have my cold. It's spring, but winter's acting like their drunk friend that doesn't know the party's over and won't go home. It's covered everything in like 1.5 feet of snow already. So I made a nice warm pellet wood fire and head over to check out how the glue up went. I left these in a warm room for the night, and the glue did its job. They're pretty sturdy. I'll move them from this table to the assembly table and see if they manage to keep that unique shape. So before I could get to the assembly table, my friend came in to call me, and he keeps looking back, leading me to the door, and I know exactly what he's doing. He's called another stray mate over for lunch. He brings his friends over for food, so I gave them a hot meal and headed back to the table. So here you can see that jigsaw puzzle shape that I was talking about. And if these blocks didn't keep shape, they're not going to fit into these patterns. So the first glue up that I did, snug as a bug in a rug. The second one, it's in there. And the third one was pretty good. And then the other one for the width of the table. This was quite a hard pattern, but yep, fits in there like a glove. Perfect. So I took a look outside. It's still coming down, and so I decided to make some coffee and sit in front of my crackling fire and carry on again tomorrow. So I finished the partial glue up of the parts of all four sides, and now I have to find a way of getting these guys all together for the main glue up. I decided to start with this side first. So I am going to need longer clamps to compress my table together during the main glue up, and that means replacing these 3 clamps with 1 clamp, a minimum of 40 inches long, and I'm going to need 4 of them. I did some searching on the internet for prices, and this is what I got so far.
Oh, hell no!
So I found that as I was tightening it, it bowed a little bit. So I loosened the nuts, and grabbed 2 cinder blocks, put them on top and retightened it, and that sorted the problem out. The glue is oozing out the side, which means the clamp is nice and tight, so I'm happy. So I made another clamp for the opposite side and off to the drying room, and you can see in the second one there's some massive rocker here that I'm hoping will sort out during the planing stage.
So I had all my footage on one SD card. I never do that. And I didn't like one clip in that whole lot and I deleted it, but I ended up formatting my card. So I've lost everything from the last clip, the glue up of the panel, all the way through to my big clamp making and the major glue up, the one piece that I wanted to shoot. I forgot my camera on Star Trails, so the whole main glue up looks like this. So what I've learned so far is glue up is not easy. Every time you move one block, it's like that movie Labyrinth with David Bowie. Everything just changes and you can't find that shape again. So every time you move one block, the layout completely changes, and so the final result is going to be a surprise for me as well. So the main glue up is finished. I have it clamped together, it's drying, and yeah, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to wait for the glue to dry.